How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing great. We are rocking and rolling. Chirag was just doing a playbook session on all the changes, having to be, defend your, not defend, but having to explain your buyers rates and all that stuff. So it's pretty
Has
interesting.
Compass come out with an a statement on this?
No, and they're not going to, I don't think. I
Okay.
believe Angela Swift, I'm calling you out right now. I better see you in this office in like the next 7 to 10 days.
You will. I'm just finishing all the stuff with my house and
And you're
trying
coming
to
here on October 18th for this listing presentation event. So be here.
Okay. Okay.
You find your way. I know when you go away for too long, I'm going to come back to an interesting conversation. So
Yes. No, it's all been good. It's just been, you know what? I'm dealing with clients and illnesses of clients and deals and FHA. I didn't even know what the frick FHA meant. I took a listing for a friend's daughter selling her house. The clients are putting down 5%. Who does shit like that? Oh, sorry. Who does things like that? I guess
you can curse. We're adults. It's fine.
Oh, that's okay.
A lot of people, I actually was just on our playbook call explaining to people, one of the biggest changes that people are going to have to do is explain how, if there's no compensation and you build the commission into an offer, how it all works. When I started in real estate, I had to explain to all of these agents the concept of a seller concession, and no one even understood what it was. And they would say these stupid things like, the standard down payment is, I'm like, there is no standard down payment. That's like a violation of Sherman antitrust. TP, happy birthday, dude.
Hey, Tommy,
Happy birthday. So wait, Chirag, is someone going to coach us and talk to us about how we deal with this? I mean, I'm dealing with so many buyers, like big buyers too. What am I going to say to them? Oh, fork over the money to me?
Here's what we're doing. Well, I can tell you all this here because you guys get everything anyway, and you guys are all my buddies. So Tommy knows about this. Bucky Sell. This might be the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. So what we're essentially doing is we're taking, obviously we have the playbook that you all know about, the group coaching program. We have our end-to-end sellers, we're making end-to-end buyers, and we're actually combining them all into one called Playbook Plus. So next week, our team is building the whole end-to-end buyers program. That'll be your buyers presentation, all the scripts, all the email templates, and everything that goes into a buyer transaction from start to finish. So we will have different offer templates and literally everything that you need to know about this and be prepared. All of this stuff, the crazy thing is I've been talking about this for 2 years. 2 years.
Okay, but let me ask you something. Right now, I'm in the middle of a deal with a $10 million client. You know this is going to come up.
It's actually not, because most listing agents have already signed listing agreements with cooperative.
So they cannot change that?
No, it's gonna be very hard to change. I don't think so. Look, here's the big thing to know. Let me read this to you guys.
Tracy, you look so fashionable. Oh God.
I was just thinking.
I'm waiting for a plumbing inspection. So I'm like totally like dragged out. You look so freaking like you're getting ready to like get a major presentation to like a big New York City hedge fund guy saying why did you use Tracy Clinton Conway?
I love how you think that as I'm going to show a rental.
Tracy always looks
hey, you know what?
even when she's showing rentals.
ABC, always be closing.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, so Northeast MLS. Well, first of all, Stacy Froelich. The Manhattan has been operating non-NAR and all this other stuff for years, right? So like this is not a novel concept. A few things that you want to know. The discounters, the hagglers, and you know those people that want to argue over 25 cents just to feel like they got a cent and that's winning for them. Those are the people that are really going to go after this, right? So if you look and understand what they're saying, do you guys want me to kind of unpack all the NAR stuff before we go into business planning?
Yes, sure.
Okay, good. So look, what they're essentially saying, right? And look, in a weird way, not in a weird way, in a factual way, it was 2 wrongs that the NAR did. First, it was the commission, but then it was the clear cooperation policy where they mandated people to put their properties in an MLS within 24 hours, which was a direct result of Robert's idea of Compass coming soon. And if we had 20% of the market, remember that, Trace, Stacy? If we have 20% of the market, if you're not on Compass.com, you're missing 20% of the homes. That change was a direct result of what Compass was doing. So now when they're saying, okay, you have to dictate what the commissions are, plus you're dictating on how we're going to list it, it is a clear violation of antitrust. It's eliminating other businesses. It's mandating the way people do things. So what happened was in the settlements of Remax and Anywhere, which was formerly Realogy, they said that if they settle and can get out of the buyer's agents clause, they'll leave NAR. The Department of Justice witch hunt is not with real estate agents, it's with NAR. So here's what they're saying. As an owner of a property, you have the right to negotiate compensation on a deal-by-deal basis, which means these people have no idea how real estate works. That is just unorganized chaos. So as a result, this is what it kind of looks like. So offer compensation, yes, list an MLS with compensator. Buyer makes an offer, full price offer. You can either accept the offer, counter offer, and in a counter offer, based on these new rules, you can negotiate the compensation like any other contract term, right? List on MLS with no compensation. Buyer makes an offer. Is it a full price offer? Accept the offer, counter offer, no deal offer. So if you ever took a buyer's agent's course, right? They'll tell you to write in your offer like this. Here is your offer price. Here's the commission. Here's the offer price. And here's the seller's net after the buyer's agent's commission. It's a simple explanation. Now, things that you need to be prepared for is bridging a gap, right? If Stacy charges 3%, the seller's only allowed to offer 2%, then there becomes a 1% delta. So in Northeast MLS has been doing this for about 2 years. 90% of the properties there still or more still offer a clear blanket buyer's agent's compensation. So I don't think in my view, I don't think this is going to change so much. However, where I do see it changing is people literally going to say, okay, I'm buying a $3 million house from Tracy. You're getting paid $60,000 to $90,000. What do you do for me to earn that much money in the service you provide?
Well, they already are. That's already happening, which they should. But my question is it's the commission? I know I'm not an R member and may not affect me at all, but is the commission still negotiated up front in an exclusive agreement? Because what I think is really dangerous is if it's just all part of the negotiation, we get an offer.
Well, I think agreements will be amiable, but in general, when somebody offers out 2%, right, we now have to, in this new world that'll exist, they say you can offer out 2%, but is that a negotiable 2%, right? And like the way these things are going to have to be worded will be different. And we'll have to explain to people, literally, do you want to get into a position where an agent is working with a buyer and a buyer is expecting 2%, 3%, whatever this co-broke fee is, and now potentially the buyer has to pay the money and then they don't want to buy your house? It's all these different scenarios, right? I can share with you the list we have from our playbook group today that has like 30 different random thoughts and scenarios. But these are all the things that we'll have to A, come up with in advance, B, actually have explanations. And look, in New York State, I think it's one of the easier states. You want to know why? So when a seller says to you, I want to offer out 0 compensation, and Stacy, can't you represent the buyer and the seller?
Sure.
That's a very easy conversation, right? So you ask them, are you hiring me for professional advice? Yes. You're hiring me for benefit? Yes. How'd you feel if, Tracy came to buy your house and she said, I'm offering $1 million, and you ask me what I think, and the only thing I could tell you is it's $1 million, figure out what you want to do. Would you feel good about the commission? The answer
Can I
is
jump
no.
in for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was freaking out about this because Chirag, you and I have been talking about this for a while about this, but then I started really thinking about how it applies to my daily real estate down here. And like, I'm not as concerned thinking about it more and more because I feel like if I'm going on a very high end listing, you're going to say, you want the most exposure, you want this. I think it's our value proposition. You know, we always are fighting for commissions anyhow. And then we can say to them, like, look, if you want to offer the buyer's agent commission, then a lot of buyers and they might be shunned by it. I think it's just a conversation. I think this stuff's really going to affect more of the mid to low range things, but I don't necessarily think it's going to affect the super high end. And I think I think the only thing this does now for me as a buyer's broker is actually defend my commission because I already have my buyer consultations. And I think this is just part of the conversation to have with the consultation moving forward and say, hey, if I'm going to show you off market opportunities and all this different stuff, you got to do this buyer broker agreement. And listen, if they don't pay me a commission, you got to compensate me. I think it's just how we frame it.
Yeah, and the other thing too that I want you to all be mindful of, especially everyone's price point here, your clients all buy luxury stuff, which means that they pay money for brands and services they see value in. Think about it. You can buy a BMW or you can buy a Toyota. Both of them are cars to get you from point A to point B. You could buy a Louis Vuitton handbag or a handbag to Kohl's. They're both things that you actually put stuff in. You could buy a Bruno Cucinelli sweater for $2,000. You could buy a sweater at Old Navy for $20. They're both clothes you wear. You go to the Ritz-Carlton and get an amazing experience there, or you could go to the Holiday Inn. They're both hotel rooms you sleep in. This is not something new of people paying for things, but it all goes down to your value proposition. Is it clear? Is it concise? And is it quantifiable?
I know this is going to be a weird thing to say because I never thought I'd say it, but it's almost lucky that we're in a buyer's market. Well, I'm in a buyer's market because in a buyer's market, the sellers have less ability to say we're not paying they want buyers to come see their property. So if we were in a seller's market and we set the standard now with commission, it could change everything. But now that we're headed into a buyer's market, I think it's a better time for this to come out because sellers are not going to not pay because they want people to come.
See, but I'm still in very much of a
Seller's market.
Very much in a bidding situation, very much losing bids by $10,000, $15,000. In my scenario, in my brain, I can see my buyers saying to me, well, I mean, I'm already $85,000 over ask. Why aren't you participating? Why aren't you taking a cut on this deal? Meanwhile, I've showed them 40 properties over the past year. Like, I'm going to need to massage this. I need to really think this through because, and my average price point is only 3 million. Like, I'm not ultra high end.
Only 3 million.
Only average price point. Only 3 million.
It's probably 2 million, but that's low end for Greenwich, relative, right? So
no, but like Angela, I think it's just the framing of conversations. I mean, look, I do a lot of stuff in the high end, but my average price point is probably $1 million and a quarter. You know, it's like it's just a lot of volume. But I think when you deal with the buyers, it's just like, hey, I'm going to be showing you this. You know, I think you just have to treat it like a luxury brand and be like, you're working with Angela. This is what goes in between this on and behalf scenes. I'm negotiating your deals, and listen, you know, I'm having you sign the agreement here because we're in a unique market where sometimes they're not offering 3%, and this could be negotiable later, but like we can negotiate this later, but at least let's get the process going. And that's kind of what I do. Like all my listing agreements, I dictate and say to them, look, we're going to do 6%, and this could be negotiated later. And 95% of the time we negotiate it later if I don't get them their price. But I think you just have to set a precedence of, you know, why and the need, you know.
In
Look,
your
let me-
markets, do you guys have
Look,
buyer agreements?
By the way,
We-
just on a
we
side
don't.
note, Tommy's
Yeah,
sitting
we
here
do.
like in Texas, like $2 million only.
Well, yeah, like this is, and I wrote this in the chat,
Man.
Stacy. I said, I am the girl that has my buyers sign their listing agreement the week I'm getting my commission, the day they're closing. Like, I'm so
We don't
lax.
even have them.
They're always my friends. They're friends. They're referrals. I never do that. Now I wrote in the chat, I got to button this process up.
All
And I
right.
feel like
Number
a used
one,
car
I'm
salesman.
gonna just let me just put this out there for everyone that's worried. We are far, far, far ahead of this. Like we're literally sitting here as a team next week and we're gonna make the whole thing. so that you don't have to worry about the materials and what you say and everything else. Here's a great, you know how I have good one-liners for people? Here's a good Chiragism to use with people. Aaron, you'll really appreciate this one. When you're meeting buyers and you're living in a world where they actually have to pay money for something, you just simply ask, like, you know, if you're going to work with an agent or in partnering with an agent to purchase your home, what are you looking for that you feel that you can't do on your own from an agent? Let them tell you. They're going to tell you the answer to that question. What are you looking for in partnering with an agent that you feel you can't do on your own? Let them tell you. You have to remember this. They have access to obscene amounts of data and information. And look, the bottom line is, it's the people that are always want deals that are going to really go on this. All of you have tremendous value that you offer to people. You know, like if you look at Megan and Jillian, they're like data scientists, right? In the way that they have that sheet and everything. But look, if you go to a seller, right, and this is just a simple checklist, look at all the different things that you go through and do in an actual transaction. Like, this is crazy. This is what they're paying for. But there's a gap between the words you use, what they hear and understand, and the materials you give them. And a lot of this is mindset. Yes, you already have all this stuff. So look, another thing to quickly highlight, on Thursday, please, please, please make sure that you come to that training with all of your team members. We're going to show you where all of this stuff is on the platform, how you get into all of our pages, where all of our resources are, where all these things are that are made for you, and where everything is. So bring your admins, bring your team members, because it's just important as they engage in this stuff because they have access to all of it too. Everyone here has what we call team accounts, where you can literally add and subtract people from your team in real time. So like Angela, if someone works for you here today and they leave, you can just cut their access off literally in real time. Right. So make sure that you guys are able to attend those sessions. We'll go through a whole different set of bonuses, from business planning to our perfect pitch stream and all these different things that we want you guys to have and we want to make sure you use. But look, I say this all the time. If you're not using this stuff, then it's completely worthless. So we want to make sure that you and your team members and everyone can do that. So we know there's been, God knows how many questions about our platform and where do I find this and where do I find this. So we're just going to do a training for everyone on Thursday. So we sent to everyone calendar invites. So show up and invite all of your team members and your admins as well. Let's see. It is Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. All right.
And Chirag, they can get on if we forward them that invite.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Forward them all the invite. All right, cool. So listen, don't worry so much about this NAR thing. The good news is every one of your businesses is positioned to win because you guys have brands and you have track records. What I believe this is going to force everyone to do is when they say, well, Uncle Bob's the real estate agent. Well, do I really want to work with Uncle Bob, especially if I'm going to have to write him a check? Look, I can share my own experience in this. I've worked with an agent here locally. I'd rather physically write her a check than buy a house without her because her value in what she offers me is crystal clear. I'm never going to know and have the service, the market knowledge, and all this stuff that she has. I'm not going to. So smart as I am in doing this in all these different markets, I would still pay her because it's worth it. Right. So when you start going through this, there are only so many different scenarios you'll do. And in the coming weeks, we'll provide you the information. And we've been pretty up to date on this. And anyone who sits, Fran, you've sat in our group, so you probably heard me say this ad nauseum, that they're going to eliminate buyer's agents commission for like 2 years now. So we've been thinking and figuring this out. Some of this stuff is interactive. Some of this stuff we can invite you here for a day and we could all workshop in a group to understand. You know, you have to understand your client's decision-making matrix, what they're looking for in person, but you also have to really start to understand what they're looking for online and where the gap is. If I were every single one of you, I would go on Zillow or Street Easy and understand what is on the screen, the different search filters, what's on the other toolbars, sign up for an account, see how they email people, see how they talk about open houses, see how they share similar listings. And then when they say, oh, I'm on Zillow and everything else, you can say, great, it's a great website for this, this, this. They'll agree. And you say, hey, one of the things our clients enjoy the most is, and then talk about how you fill in the gap. Stop spending time trying to convince them that what they're doing is wrong by being on that website. It's not an effective way to start a relationship. All right. So look, the purpose of today's conversation is business planning, right? So I want to first go around and ask everyone, is there any annual business planning that people do for their teams currently? So Angela, you're first on my list. I'm just going to go across my screen.
So, well, I was just looking for the invite for Thursday and I don't see it. But anyway, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Do you do currently any business planning for your whole team?
Yes. Yep. I'm in the middle of doing it now, as a matter of fact, for 2024. I've been doing it for the past week or so.
Good. So you have a business plan for your team, and where do you feel that you're strong and where do you feel your challenges around business planning?
My biggest weakness is I don't have enough junior agents, if you will, people that I have so many. I've been getting referrals from clients that want to start looking, their kids want to start looking, not immediate, but within the next 6 to 12 months. Honestly, I want to be able to start to share and pass that off to team members so that I don't have to work every weekend taking people out. To be honest with you, I'd rather share it and create a revenue split with them that makes sense for all of us.
Good. We can talk about this when you actually show up to my office next week.
Yes.
Come with your wish list. Tracy?
So right now I'm kind of going through expenses, which has been an interesting diving into that. And I'm sitting down kind of at the end of the month with everybody. I've added a lot of, or I should say, 2 people got added. One, a top producer from Daniel Gale, which came over about a month ago. And the other one is a brand new agent. So it's kind of, I've got a lot of stuff going on with kind of mentoring of her. And, but the budget was something that I kind of needed to address with just different, like, things like Zillow and advertising and all of that. So I'm kind of restructuring how I'm going to be doing it in 2024 with different agents. So I'm getting
If
that.
you want to go through cutting your budget, shoot me a text and we'll hop on a call and I'll help you just go through it. It's good. I like cutting budgets.
I don't. But I have to.
Got it. Stacy, you have a plan.
I honestly, I don't. I have a plan. I know exactly what we're doing for marketing and for the team and for listings. And I know exactly how much we're budgeting for those items, but I truly do not do much in the way of business planning anymore. I used to. And then I realized that I was spending, this whole day doing business planning. And then I never, ever, ever looked at it again. And I thought, wow, this is such bullshit. So now instead I do like weekly planning, daily planning of things I want to accomplish. And I go over that with the team. It's so funny because I was asked to be on a panel today. Julian, my manager, called me like in a huff. I need help. You need to be on this panel for business planning. I'm like, I am not your gal. I'm like, this is not my topic. I don't really believe in it. Like, I remember we used to go to those Tom Ferry events and they used to say, dream big and pick how many units you're going to sell. And I just think it's so like ridiculous because did I know mortgage rates were going to be 8%? Like that would have messed everything up. Like, so now I'm just really focusing on my activities and what I want my goals to be, but more general in like market share and team growth and marketing, but I don't do a lot of business planning. Does that make sense?
It does, because look, I think the number one challenges with business plans is half of them are bullshit, right? It's
bullshit.
More people are doing business plans more to check a box. Like a business plan is strategy, right? So remember when we went through all the stuff for your business and budgeting and how much per listing and all that other stuff, that filters into annual planning, right? So I'll go through some high level things of, business planning that I think work. And we are doing some sessions. But look, the number one problem in all business planning is people have a plan, but there is no proactive plan, schedule, accountability, or anything on when we're going to review our plan, track our plan, measure our plan, make any changes, right? So business planning can be really simple, or people can make it complicated. But most agents I find do business planning every year, so they check that box, so they feel good, but they don't do anything. So I'm with you on that. Bucky, what do you got?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
It's like Chirag would be very proud because he knows like I'm a guy who has to plan, but I never stick to the plan. It's kind of like be honest of sorts. So I've realized that there's goals and you have to achieve them. But I also realized that the main goal is to keep Aaron Buckbinder profitable. And as much planning I want to do for my team is that they don't take it as seriously as I do. And I really just have to focus on me, myself, and I, and figure the way to make the team work around me, because I made the mistake of when I started my team, and I didn't realize this for years because Chirag used to preach this all the time. There was a difference between a team and mini brokerage. So I've realized now that there's a section of my group that is part team and part mini brokerage. And the only people I'm really focusing on are the ones that are really working the true team aspect, because there's a few agents and I can't kick them off because I know them 20 plus years and I can't just say get off the team. So like them, they're either going to cannibalize or realize that they're not growing their business, and they're going to see what I am doing to grow mine, and they'll ask for guidance. So I used to try to do weekly, monthly meetings. So I've decided to just focus on my time and not be so much of a time thief to myself, and just do one quarterly meeting. And I'm just going to go over the subjects and topics that I think are important to me, and those who come and learn from it, great. And those who aren't, like, eventually will weed themselves out. But I think the goal is to just keep analyzing the business, see where I'm spending good money and bad money, and just try to figure out how to be as profitable as I can in gaining market share.
So I think Aaron hit the number one thing in this is focus on yourself and what your plan is. And that needs to trickle down to everybody. But that's being clear on what your team's model is, right? Like, what is your business model as a team and how your team runs, and what's your value proposition? So
Except I'm just going to jump in. Aaron, I love that you're focusing on yourself, but I don't think you can have a quarterly meeting with your team members and call yourself a team. Like, they want to be on your team to learn from you and be with you. And I agree, like, don't let them suck your time, and don't spend time with the people that aren't. But you can't have a quarterly meeting. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. Quarterly meeting, you have to spend time with your team member. You do, or else you're not a leader.
I'm going to interject. Hold on one second. I'm going to interject in the best of both worlds, right? So Stacy Froelich, you have some of the most productive team members out of everyone on this call, right? In terms of some of the production they have, right? I can tell you,
but it's my business. They're not sourcing their own business. So that's my biggest issue.
Yes. However, still, in terms of just average, if you look at the average commission, right? There's so many people that give their people leads, and like, where if Andrea Coran was here, she would literally tell you the tale of the opposite city. She's giving out business to all these people. They're not following up. They're not closing. Fran will nod her head. Like the group of humans that you've assembled through, addition, subtraction, everything, for a team, they're really like good about at least converting your business so you're not stressed out. If everyone looks at their business from a high level, what I would encourage you to look at is, like, Stacy, you probably know this number. What % production is yours in GCI versus
70,
right? So what % is yours, Aaron?
Probably 85. That's the problem.
85.
I think it's my problem too, but I also think if you don't spend time with them, then that's never going to change.
So Stacey, let me just explain a few other dynamics I do have, because obviously you don't know how my daily operation is. Right. I'm in the office every day from 8 to 6. Yesterday I called 2 of my agents and I said, listen, we're slow. Let's bang the phones. Let's go source some deals. I called 4 agents. Only one of them showed up. By 10:30, he's like, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm like, all right, bud, I'll still be here sourcing deals. So the problem is, like, it's always been an open door policy. And I always tell agents they can meet with me anytime they want, schedule in advance, and I'll make a half an hour per week. It's even in my ICA agreement with them that I will make myself available for them. but I can't force them to do plans. And that's where my problem is. Like, I've realized that I've put so much effort. Like, when I first hired all the agents, I was having my assistant and I weekly call them, hey, when are we doing our one-on-one this week? When are we doing this? And it was no lack of effort on my part. And those that are putting in the effort in, I'm not waiting once a quarter to meet with them. Those guys are making the time to meet me, you know, once a month or once a quarter. And like the ones that are really go-getting are the ones who are the top earners because they're the ones who are actively working the stuff. I just realized that, and look, last year was a point of profitability where I realized that the online leads were a waste of time for me. And like, I've realized, like, you know, I scaled the team to service the leads, but they weren't working them, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not trying to say that you're wrong, because the problem is half my team is a mini brokerage. I would say there's really maybe 4 or 5 individuals of my 10, the 12 that on my team are really acting in a team model. So like those 4 or 5, like I am treating a little bit different, but they also are putting the time in to come learn, versus like my wife's friend who I've known for 20 years who put us together is like a Pilates instructor half the time. Like, she's not putting the effort in. She's just looking for this one-off a deal a year. And it's like, I go to my wife, like, I want to kick Lauren off the team. She's like, you can't kick Lauren off. Like, you'll never hear the end of it. And I go, well, then listen, she's either going to put the time in or not. So like all those people, I try to make the mandatory once a quarter meeting, but like I was doing these weekly, bi-weekly meetings, and the only ones that were putting the time in were the ones that are getting out. So I've said, you know what, I'm not going to like stress myself and kill myself because those hours of preparation for each meeting and the hours of this, I've realized for myself that's where it is. But I agree with you. Like, I wish it was a little bit more different. I wish the production of the team was a little bit higher, but that's just like and that's why Chirag said, I think it's different for where we are and where our scales. But like, I'm trying to be more of a rainmaker and take a backseat approach, but not everybody else wants to be the forefront. And I just realized I have to focus on my ROI, which is my time right now.
No, it's challenging for sure. Because I give so much of my business away for them to service, I want to make sure they know what they're doing, right? So like,
What's funny,
you know, yeah, I
I'm at
want
the
to make
point
sure
now-
I'm with them a lot, so to teach them like the ins and outs and the little things that, you know, I was on a showing yesterday and this lovely broker didn't know there was an abatement for a primary residence, and her clients were there, and she had no idea. And so I was like, I better come to my team meeting, which is Tuesdays at 9, like, and make sure my team all knows about, which they all did. But like, those are the things, because I am the rainmaker and I'd like not to be, but I just need to make sure that they know more than the typical agent.
No, and I agree with you. And I'm almost at the point now too. And, you know, Chirag and I are kind of working on this individually. Is like, I'm at the point now where I just want full-time showing agents, full-time buyers agents, and put them on salary and just kind of really shrink it down and make it like a hive, so that way I can work less. But I agree with you. And listen, all the things you're saying, like, I've tried so many times where I said, listen, I'm going to have 2 attorneys come in next week. Like, let's talk about the contracts, talk about the process, and those who care show up. And that's where I've been like trying to figure out like how much time am I putting in that everybody else is putting in. That's where I've been just identifying. But, you know, I was hopeful that I'll have more productive senior agents. And this year I had 2 to 3 good hires. In the past, you know, it was bad. So like, I'm really just trying to be very selective on who and what if I add to the team anymore. That's what I was kind of getting at.
Okay, I think this is a very applicable conversation for everyone. Tommy?
Oh, I was just going to chime in a little bit here. So I agree with both of you guys. I think you're right. But I think the ultimate thing is, you know, there's not a right way to run your team. And I coach about this all the time. I tell my team you know, that's the best thing about our business, but it's also the worst thing. And that's why people struggle, because there is not that golden ticket. If you're a brain surgeon, like, there's probably one way to do brain surgery, right? And if you're really good at it, you're a badass. In real estate, there is 1,000 ways to be successful. And I think we're all looking for that golden ticket. So, and there's not one. So I think what it boils down to is what are your goals, you know, and where do you see your business going in the next 5 or 10 years? Now, to throw a curveball into that, you can't just say, this is the lane I want to go and this is how I'm going to do it, because interest rates are going to change. Home prices are going to change. Things are going to change. So you're going to need to adjust. But, you know, ultimately, there's 4 reasons that people are on teams. It's brand, culture, support, or I call them opportunities. It should be called leads, but we don't use that word on my team. So those are the 4 reasons. There's no other reason people want to be on a team. So most team leads want to be perfect at all of those, and they're not. So I would say take those 4, pick 2 of them. If you can be really good at 2 of those, and that's how you're going to structure your team and build your team. For me, it was tough because for 8 years, I just went 1,000 miles per hour. But I was working 80, 90 hours a week, making a bunch of money. So I was high on that. But then I made a choice that, because my home life was struggling and my kids were getting older. So I made a commitment now, which is tough. I still struggle with it, but like, I'm going to my kids' golf tournaments on the weekends. Like, I don't care if I get a $5 million buyer, like they can wait. Like that's tough for me, but that's the choice I've made. But I've also structured my team to support me with that. But I think ultimately the big thing is there's no right way to do it. It's really what is best for you. And now I agree with Aaron. I've actually shifted a little bit to being a little more selfish because the market here is changing. It's changed drastically over the last 45 days. And I was watching this thing like a month ago, and I don't think it was on Instagram or whatever. And the guy was talking about the market and the changes and ups and downs. And he said, in the end, people want to work with people they like. And that's it. Like, it doesn't matter what interest rates do. It doesn't matter if there's a war. People are going to work with people they like. So I try to tell myself that every day. And that really helps me kind of structure how I want my team. And on some days I'm a shit show, some days I'm not, but that's our business. That's why we make a lot of money. It's not easy.
No, and Tommy, I don't consider ourselves selfish. I consider it just like, I don't think the word selfish by any means.
No, it's not. That's the wrong word. Yeah, that's the wrong word. It's
You're being
just
selfless, actually.
yeah.
Like selfish is the worst word because
without you, Aaron, your team doesn't exist. Without me, my team doesn't exist. And if I can go out there and pick up 10 or 12 deals over the next 2 months, that's going to feed my team as well. Yeah, I may make a little bit more money and kind of get away with what my plan was, but I have those same struggles. Like,
you still got to pay the bills, Tommy.
I've got 5 or 6 agents that have some people don't like this opinion. If you have agents that have been in the business for 3 years or less, they're done. They are done.
No, but
no chance they can survive unless they are on a great team and they have a great leader.
But I will say one thing.
Stacey Folix leads.
Yeah.
But Stacey, I do agree with you on something. And I want to tell you that part of me does want to do a massive revamp because I do think if I reset the culture, it would be more productive and pertuitive, but I just don't know how I'm going to tell these 5 agents that I've known for 15, 20 years, like, you got, and that's just like, and Chirag, I think we'll have a conversation of how to do that, but that's part of like doing the new team agreements and stuff that I want to do for next year. Like, I have the idea in mind of how I want to do it, but I agree with you that like, I wish it was a little bit more cohesive and stuff like that. So like, I appreciate you, giving me your opinion on it. And I do want to set the culture a little bit better, but I realized that I put so much time and effort in these business plans. Like, I sat down with one of my agents who was also my assistant at one point for 5 years. And I sat down with her. I'm like, what's your business plan? She goes, I don't know. We'll just figure it out. I'm like, that's not a plan. And then I sat there for hours with her and I said, do this, do this, do this. It's been 6 months since we've had that meeting. She hasn't done one thing I told her. And I'm just like, I wasted 5 hours and multiple check-ins, and that's just like where my mind goes frustrating,
I share that frustration with you too. I mean, we do have a coast team, but not everyone's doing what I want them to do, and it is so hard. It is so hard. It is so hard.
All right, so I want to get through some business planning stuff. I want to hear from everyone. This is a good conversation. I know a lot of you individually as well, so I know, Fran, this really speaks to your heart. But look, in the end of the day, it's really simple. These are grown adults, and they're not your children, right? So if they're not motivated to show up to better themselves and you all are bettering yourselves, that is a culture and a choice that you're making on who you surround yourself with. We can go down this like red pill, blue pill thing for a long, long time, right? But look, there's some things I wanted us to just kind of go through as a group. But Fran, quickly, like, do you do any planning with your team? Do you do it for yourself?
I do, but I kind of agree with Stacy. Like I did it initially, you do it at the end of the year for the next year and you check it off and then you never look at it and then everything changes. Either the market's great or the market's terrible and everything goes out the window. So I'm kind of looking at a new plan and just kind of revamping everything because my team is a little different because they really work off of me. I probably bring in close to 90% of the business. So when it's like this, I got a lot of pressure. Got a lot of mouths to feed and I'm struggling.
Well, here's the thing too, and I'm
desperately. I don't even know what to do. I just threw everything out and I said, I got to start. I have to look at a new plan. I have to just look at a whole new way I'm going to work because they can't live off of it now. They can't, they're not going to make it.
No,
I'll make it. I'll be okay. I won't make as much, but I'll be okay. But they won't make it.
But here's the thing. I want to address the word selfish for all of us. The one thing we all have in common is everyone on here has a really big heart and is a giver. Like all of you. I know this factually. Look, selfish is me pushing David in the mud because I don't want to get my fancy loafers dirty and walking all over him. Selfish is getting somebody else fired so I can get a promotion. Choosing yourself, your family, and what's best for your life is not selfish. It's not. Not at all. So don't feel bad as the market changes by doing this. You have to look at your team and realize who's been showing up and who wants to work. And the idea that everybody's equal to me is that it just doesn't work because there are people that show up early that stay late. You hear it all the time on teams. There are people that work here harder than others. So Tracy on the bottom. Hello. I like the green.
Oh, thanks.
What are you in terms of planning?
Since we've had that performance tracker, it's been helpful because I can kind of see where I'm at, which I kind of like, and I'm definitely down because everything is down, but I'm on track for, I've been looking more at 2019, what that year looked like, and I'm doing better than that. So I'm outpacing where I was there. My team members, one doesn't produce and one is got some stuff going on. So, we're just trying to work through what she can do with her health.
So look, in terms of business plan, there's the first thing is, and we're doing this in 3 parts. Like the first part is why business plans fail. So I think everyone needs to address why they actually don't work. And a lot of them don't work because there is no plan for the plan. Second part is, what does a plan need to look like today? Look, I think this market, if you look at the last 90 days with all these lawsuits and all the other stuff, dude, this doesn't feel like a real estate business anymore. It feels like an ongoing series of 24, where every day it's like, do. And there's like a new episode, a new drama, a new thing. So look, for agents, I would say based on our perspective of all of our clients, is you have to start with certain foundations, right? So look, the first thing I would encourage everyone to do is cut their budget. You have to find places to cut. Have to. For the spenders out there, Tracy Clinton, you gotta, the whole keep it or cut it, and we could reach out to me and we'll talk about that. But when you have to cut your budget, number 2, there's certain foundational skills that are going to be the most valuable things that you own. And the most valuable thing that everyone needs to do, and like this is called learning maps, skill building roadmaps, however you want to do it. You need to have basic skills to be able to communicate your value proposition and answer common objections. It's like real estate 101. But if Stacy works in the city and they say, you know what, Julian Berkeley is at Compass too, and he does it for 5%. What do you do? Where does that come from? And all those things. So understanding your buyer value proposition, your seller value proposition, and then also making budgets. Budgeting doesn't really make sense for most people because they make one budget and then the world changes, right? And you're like, well, how do I figure this out? Well, you have to make a budget based on good, better, and best. And then within there, there's certain things you have to factor in, right? Like there's client gifting if you do that. There's an events budget. There's a listing marketing budget. There's an actual marketing budget, a staff budget. And as you spend money based on your good, better, and best, you need to understand what are your fixed expenses and variable expenses. Stacy, how much does it cost you to market a listing? You should know this number.
Am I unmuted?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Oh, okay, because I'm not good with Zoom on my phone. It's probably shit. What the? I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. I would say it's a 200 for the. I have a spreadsheet. It's 200 for the digital ad. It's about 1,000 something probably for the photos and the video. So probably around 1,200.
Great, 1,200. So if you're looking at this based on your good, better, and best sales outcomes, based on you look at your percentage of listings, you look at your percentage of buyers, you can model out what that listing budget is based on good, better, and best, right? Like, so these are things that you're going to want to think about. And like, if you look at good, better, and best, you could do it in increments of 250,000, 500,000, right? Like, don't vary each group by that much more, especially next year. I don't think that's going to be the case. But you need to understand where your budget is, and then simply as you spend money, deduct it from your budget.
We have cut our budgets like crazy, but mostly through mailing. You know, we cut it down from monthly to quarterly. And because listen, I think it's hard to know if you're getting business from it. And I know every market's different, but like we've been cutting our budgets like crazy.
Mail at best converts at a 1 to 2% rate. So it's like, I would tell people that instead of spending money sending to random strangers, you should spend the money back into your clients, events, experiences where, look, 90% of most of your business, like some people have like Zillow Flex and other things where they get leads like that. But for the most agents in this group and nationally at Compass, 80 to 90% of their business comes from past clients and centers of influence. So
I even got a call from my accountant saying how proud he was of me for budget.
Yeah.
It was a happy call.
So understanding budgeting, right? Like, you know, in team building, they talk about two things. They talk about knowledge gap and skill gap. So when you have agents, you need to understand what their knowledge gap and what their skill gap, and you need to understand that for yourselves too. Like, what is the knowledge you need, like, to enhance your business based on its current structure and where you want it to go? And what are the skill gaps? And that goes more into transactional real estate. Every human in the world can get better at describing what they do. You know, I met this, I was introduced by a friend to a guy by the name of Marshall Silver. And the funny thing is, I have this guy's CDs from when I started real estate. He's one of the world's greatest sales and influence trainers. So when I was out in San Francisco, the guy invited me to go to his like fancy $20-30 million on the water with a private beach mansion in Carlsbad. And we went there and we had a conversation, right? Very interesting because, again, I had this guy's CDs. Like, I literally took a picture before I went. And he's been training real estate agents for 40 years. He says, you want to know the number one problem that agents have is? And I'm like, I don't know. What is it? He's like, that they're in denial that they're salespeople. And then I turn that around. I'm like, that's interesting, right? He's like, look, when you sell something and you only get paid if you sell something, you're a salesperson. So I'm like, that's great. If you're a salesperson, you need to know how to talk to people. So what you do is sales. How you do it is very different, right? Whether you're an advocate, an advisor, a consultant, whatever you want to say. But if you're a salesperson, you need to know how to talk to people. And if you don't know how to talk to people, all these AI tools and all this other stuff, it is a gigantic distraction. Because if you know how to ask the right questions, figure out what people want and sell them what they're looking for, you'll win every single time. If you know how to use performance tracker and time blocking to track your habits and understanding how the numbers and activities work in your business, you'll always continue to grow. It is a very simple formula. We are going to this whole NAR change is going to make this really simple in one sentence. It will become a skill business. That's it. And for all of you, all of the opportunities you have are endless. The majority of agents, I'll go with Tommy, like, you know, there's a saying, or my parents used to teach me in Gujarati. They're like, you could do that. My dad would say, it's going to hurt so bad, you won't even know how to cry. And so all of these people just sitting there, just like coasting by with their 3, 5, 7, 8 deals a year, just waiting for people to call them, not practicing, not doing anything. Dude, you're going to see a lot of grown adults cry. I think a lot of people are going to go into tax debt, credit card debt, and all kinds of other things. Practice your skills. I'm telling you. Nothing's a problem until it's a problem, but you already have the track record. You guys already have brands in your market. So you're already 70% of the way there. But I believe that people are objectively going to listen to what's the value they get for the commission they get paid, or agents are getting paid on both sides. And you need to have better control of your finances, 100%. It is a must. And you have to feed yourselves first. You can't go, I don't recommend any human being going into debt, dipping into their savings account to give their team members deals, unless they're your son who you birthed, Fran Mazer, who you have some sort of like obligation to, right? Besides that, like none of these people are your family members. You have to take care of yourself. And so many of these people have taken your business, worked on your business, chose to coast off your business. And that was their choice. And it was part of the opportunity of being on your team. But I also think you all have to change and pivot. So money, skills, budget, habits, and productivity. If you can't sit still for 30 minutes and focus on calling and talking to people, you have a problem. I would be engaging every single buyer in the world I ever worked with if I were all of you right now as part of our any kind of plan you have for the next year, because it's infinitely easier to get someone who already worked with you to give you a new client than to get a net new client with all the stuff that people have. You do realize like every year that goes by, there's more and more stuff that the people can find out without you. They don't need you for comps. They don't need you to find properties. They don't need you to suggest some open houses. You can curate for them, but you have to be able to explain it so they see value. You got to actually know how to sell. Like Fran with some of these sheets that she has, she sells, right? Like you actually sell people. Tracy Clinton, I would never want to negotiate you if my life depended on it. You know, Stacy's a good thing. I always take great joy in sharing this. Tracy's one of the few people that got over on Rory in the negotiation. She won. Right? So like she has a real skill in doing this, but look, you quantify this, right? What's your list price to sales price versus the average agent? These are numbers that you need to know. Stacy, in where you are, you're such a market share in that price point that you service. So there's knowledge, there's skill, there's list price, there's a lot of information. Fran, you're the queen of Woodbury, you know. Tommy, you're the king of your town.
Long Island.
Long Island, I know. I know Long Island, but still, like if you literally go through the streets of Woodbury, Long Island, I meet people, they're in Long Island, they're like, hold on, you know Fran Mazer? I'm like, she's like the most down-to-earth human there is. He's like, my friend, my good friend from college, like, hold on, you know the Fran Mazer with this thick Long Island accent. I'm like, yeah, come to Compass, you can meet her too, but you can't unless you come or do a deal. So look at these autopilots now. 6 takeaways. Come up with a plan to share and pass off referrals. Tracy, Aaron, all agents. Look at this in the chat. It's mind-blowing how these things summarize the meetings through AI. There's so many things you can do now and leverage. But you have to start with these 4 skills. If I asked every single one of you today, what is your budget for next year? Would you be able to tell me?
Nope.
if you were able to look somewhere, could you know your dollar for dollar ROI and how much you spent in each different category in your business? Tom, you're gonna need to use my number sooner than later again. Think about it. This is what we need to understand. And then when you go back to that data sheet we have of like, what are the sources of your business? And based on that, which sources make up the most GCI? It's the easiest way to align your spending. If 80% or 60% or 50% comes from your business in this one area, how much money are you reinvesting into that area of the business? This is like running a business like a business. So when we get to annual planning this year, it's going to be a whole different conversation. And for your teams, I don't encourage you to abandon planning altogether. I encourage you to have a plan, make it a simple one. You could send them to ours. A lot of it's going to be around skill building and things that are important. And then you're going to set 12 calendar meetings every month to review people's business plans a year in advance so people actually show up to them. And then as leaders, you're prepared to talk about it. How do you track, measure, and improve your plan? And that plan filters, Stacy, into those daily, weekly, monthly meetings. We already know what your people will do and will not do. So you just have to make this super simple for them and figure out what's the difference that'll make a difference.
I like David's goal spreadsheet that he went over. Like, I think that's better than anything else. Just pick 3 goals, figure out what you're going to do to accomplish it, and we'll go over it.
Great. And if that's something that you feel works good, then at least you sit down with their goals. So at least when you have these one-on-one meetings, it's like, okay, how are you doing on this goal? How are you doing on this goal? How are you going on this goal? How can I support you? What's the gap? And start logging these meetings into your CRM when you meet with the people, or make a voice note at the end of it and send it to your admin to have your admin do it, right? Because in the end, when they come to renegotiate with you, they tend to forget every single meeting, time, and thing that you did. You know, like quack, quack on your team friend, this lady she will want more money, but she also doesn't realize that she calls 15 times a day.
Not worth it. Not worth it.
No, man, you're better off working at McDonald's. At least you get paid hourly. No. Standards and expectations. All right, so we have a couple of minutes left. Anyone have any questions, comments, concerns? Thursday, 1 p.m. If you don't have an invite, please just text me and I'll get it to you. Invite all your team members. I felt this was a good conversation today. And don't worry about any of if you guys have questions about any of the buyer's agent stuff, just call me, text me, email me. I have all the information you could humanly think of.
Are you going to record the Thursday? Okay, because we have a team birthday, so.
Yes, we'll record it, and I know you'll actually diligently watch it with everyone. So
Yeah.
if you can't make it, there's like a whole trove of you, and maybe I'll just have Hersan just hop on, like you have that link to schedule his Calendly. You just schedule your own little meeting with him and he'll go through it with you. But part of having all the team agents on is that we could start helping them network with each other, because we'll put both groups together. So team members can meet other team members, and they could start making some friends as well.
Chirag, where are these checklists? Where do I call someone on your team to get into this vault? Like, where are these?
All here, hold on. So if you go here.
About 3 clicks away, no more.
It's all here.
Okay, so like that thing you just brought up today about the experience of a buyer, that checklist.
There is literally this end-to-end the system. Every single one of those things, in terms of before the pitch, delivering the pitch, after the pitch, bringing them home to market, ongoing communication, pre-launch, launching your listing, execute an open house, reviewing an offer, inspections, appraisal, closing, post-closing. Every single email template, script, deliverable, client-facing material, every last thing that's in those steps is done for you. And there's either a video, an email, a deliverable, or something you give your clients. It's all done. This thing took us 4.5 months and almost 20 people and 100 agents to put together. It's all here.
Okay, so I just have to get my password to get into there.
Just go to community.chiragshahcoaching.com. Just hit reset password.
Okay.
So one of the things we're doing is we're making like a highlights page that takes the best of all these categories and just puts 3 videos underneath each. So many of you know, and I think Stacy knows this and Angela knows this. Remember all the technology adoption pushes at Compass? I was like top 3 in the country every time. So I just started looking at our platform, like a tech product, the Compass. So we're redoing the whole way everything's laid out to make it easier to use.
Angela, and for everybody, just when you get into the platform, just go to my coaching content. That's the thing he clicked, and it's all in there for you guys.
Okay. All right, I gotta jump. I have an 11 that I gotta
Yeah.
hop on right now.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Tracy, call me. Clinton. Bye.
That's later, right?
What's it? Yeah, we have a call this week. It's later.
1:30 or
Yep,
1 or
1:30.
bye.
All right, bye.